Hello, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. It's March 1st, remarkably chilly here in Boston. And my thoughts are off in the Russia-Ukraine conflict right now. So I've been feeling very stressed. It's all very far from me. I know some of you are in Europe and other places, but I hope everyone's doing okay personally. So my thoughts are with Ukraine right now. And yeah, on that not so pleasant note, shall we take a look at our agenda? Let's see. Announcements. Big announcement probably is that we pushed 522 to stable. I did not update the website, though I was just starting to make a PR for that. So no reason I didn't update the website, simply an oversight and a manual process. So probably see a PR soon, and maybe we could automate that or something. Any other announcements?
Where should we market the 5.2.2 release?
I mean, I told General when I made it, I think.
Okay. All right.
I don't think we do anything else. I guess we could tweet something.
Twitter?
We could tweet something.
That'd be good.
Is there a headline feature?
Is this M1 support or was M1 support 5.1?
No, it's Apple. Apple Silicon, Apple M1 support. Yeah,
it's a pretty big headline feature.
Big change, and all the dependencies, renewals, and updates.
I can tweet from the Osquery account. I don't know if other people can.
I also can.
So maybe Zach or I should tweet something. Zach, do you want to do it? Do you want me to do it?
Sure. I can do it right now.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, so tweet it from Osquery. It seems worth doing.
Trailbits will retweet it once I see it.
I mean, you could thank your sponsors for it or talk about all the awesome work you did or whatever.
Yeah, we'll quote retweet.
Okay. Other announcements from folks? Okay. Questions, issues, PRs. General intent of this section is to give community members a chance to raise any questions. I do see mostly regular faces here, so may not be much, but I like to pause. Okay.
Sorry. I do have a couple of PRs open. One is fixing a bug, and then the other was adding the CPU info table to Linux. I'm not really sure exactly what they've been kind of going through review, but not fully. So just curious, like what the process is. Should I be manually adding a reviewer, or is that just automatically done? And when somebody has a chance to take a look,
probably do better just to poke people on the code reviews channel in Slack. I think you probably have a little bit of an awkwardness because generally the most active C reviewers are Trail of Bits, and Trail of Bits reasonably lets other people approve their PRs. So, you're sort of probably waiting on Zach or potentially me, but I mostly try not to review deep C++ code. Maybe Charvel. I don't know where Charvel is on the non-Mac C++ side.
I can hook up.
So there's a couple things. The code reviews channel on Slack is kind of a general hanging out place to poke people. It's super low traffic. The other thing is that we're not always very prompt about merging PRs, though we do tend to try and get anything before release. So by all means, poke people, try and get your PRs merged. Also recognize that if it takes another week now, it probably won't materially change anything. Unless you're building on the work, then you might be like, no, I want this in so I can build my next PR. So does that sound right to everyone?
I would just say I don't really have time to review any PRs right now, but please definitely reach out to Charvel. But also, I'm just wondering, do we feel? I think I like the idea of making sure that there's some sort of buy-in from like someone external to the organization when merging any kind of new functionality. But I personally don't feel like it's critical that like the deep code review happens from someone outside the organization. I'm just wondering what other folks think.
I feel the same way when I've reviewed like some stuff involved Stefano PR. If Alessandro has already gone over it, I'll review it for things that look like gross errors or like fraud to me. But mostly, if like Alessandro says no, this the threading is right here, like I'll defer to y'all. So there's like a similar thing where if Stefano and Alessandro leave a comment on your code that's like this looks good, but let's make sure someone else signs off on it. It's a pretty quick sign off versus trying to get like me to wrap my head around, is this really the right way to call this library?
Cool. I think we're on the same page then, and I'm also happy to say like, yeah, if someone else at Trail of Bits said like the code looks good, to just give you my thumbs up on like I trust your guys' review and this makes sense to go into Osquery. I'm happy to give an approval there, and if that helps folks feel good about merging, that's the kind of thing I definitely could have time for. So
that makes sense to Trail of Bits people.
Yeah, that was very helpful and exactly what I was looking for. Just trying to get a sense of what should I expect. So that's exactly what I was looking for. Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah, y'all have most of the solid C people, so.
Also, like I try to like not review things that I'm not familiar with. Like Windows is a WMI. Like I have the basic overview, but I really don't know the quirks of it. So I look at for like nits and things, but I don't really review it. So I try to add inputs where I can, but there are things that I can pick up and learn, I guess. Just as an example.
Yeah, I think there's a piece where like, I don't know that I would catch the places where we have to free things explicitly on Windows, versus Mac OS, right? Because I don't know that like the back of my hand. So it's tough sometimes.
Regarding tweeting for that release, I think we should wait until the downloads page is updated. Seth, I think you said you have an in-progress PR for that.
Yeah, I'll push a PR later on today. Okay, we can coordinate this online or something.
Cool.
Good
and
idea.
Another quick question: who was most involved with the M1 work?
Trail of Bits.
That was Trail of Bits.
Yeah. Cool. And specifically, like which people?
Alessandro and Stefano, I guess. I'm Charvel, but that could confuse things, right?
I mean, I was just gonna say huge effort from, at so and so, sponsored by Trail of Bits or something like that. Does that work?
Oh, yeah. I would say not the sponsored by Trail of Bits part. I think we want to say sponsored by Carbon Black and Trail of Bits.
Okay.
I think
But now the tweet gets pretty long.
we should just thank Trail of Bits.
Okay.
We should thank Trail of Bits, Stefano,
Yes.
Alessandro, Charvel, and Trail of Bits is welcome to quote retreat words with whatever things they think. These entities are not paying Osquery. We should not thank them for sponsoring because it doesn't feel right. Wrong hat.
Yeah, I think that's good. Good idea.
But I'm always happy to thank the people who are doing work. So I think that's.
Yeah, it's between us and Carbon Black to make acknowledgments, correct?
Yeah, Carbon Black doesn't show up in this meeting, so I'm.
Yeah,
I'm blind
and I
to
say
that.
us, I mean Trail of Bits and them. Yeah.
I thought you said VMware last time we talked about it.
Yeah. Well, they are part of VMware now.
They just
Yeah.
have competing Osquery products.
They might.
One of the things that makes me smile frequently is like discovering some, major anti-malware vendor that, is running Osquery under the hood somewhere.
Yeah, I would love to do a deep dive and round all those people up and just use them as free validation and maybe embarrass them.
I've discovered Bitdefender. I think Bitdefender, one of the B ones. They also ran Fleet, as it turns out. They used to run Collide Fleet somewhere. It's like buried in one of their obscure help docs. They ran Collide Fleet with Osquery on the endpoints, and I'm just like, what?
It's just the best tool for the job. What are you going to do?
Clearly. It's very weird. It's like, here we are, this small team of like roughly, 5 to 12 people, and like you see like VMware and like Microsoft and Apple, and they're all just like, oh yeah, thanks guys, see ya.
Way
Anyhow,
of the world.
Log4j, anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. How to document table limitations.
Yeah, I added this. I have some couple of examples of this, like running apps table is active column. And one of the API it uses is the NS Workspace APIs, which requires a run loop in the main thread to determine when an application is in focus and is not in focus. So when you run it via Osquery, the shell, the results are correct. But if you run it via scheduled query or a distributed endpoint, the results are incorrect. There is some discussion going back with Teddy and Nick. I'll try to find it and link it. That sort of also explains this. And I dug into Apple's documentation and is like, yeah, this is how it's going to work. Usually these are Cocoa APIs. So if you like use via Xcode or have a GUI, then it's kind of taken care of. And there's no simple fix for it. So maybe you can just document it and wonder how we can document it.
So I think in general, the place I would document things is in long parenthetical comments in the table schema. It's kind of awkward, but in this particular case, if the data isn't correct, I think it's wrong for us to present it.
But that's the thing. The data is correct when it's queried via, the shell.
Well, via any Osquery I or via shell that someone start. Like if I in an Osquery running spawn another Osquery in like the launch root context, is it going to be correct?
I think that is going to be correct. That is correct. I actually did that with the connect thingy. I'm trying to find. Okay, so here's the issue. It's a really old one that kind of describes it, and there's multiple places again in Apple's discussion boards about the quirks. And there's no easy fix for it because we don't want to change how the distributed threading works because that's a massive change, potential to break things.
Does it? So I haven't read this thread. Is there something similar to events that you could imagine where like if someone queries it, then then we spawn a thread?
Sort of related to that. This API has something called KVO, Key Value Observer thingy, which is again NS Workspace related. But the thing is that it needs its own run loop. And the run loop needs to happen in the main thread, sort of. Here's kind of like a basic, just putting that link here.
My guts. Okay, so In the long term, do you think that is a run loop we would want to add to Osquery?
Just for this, I don't think it makes sense. Like endpoint security creates run loop as well. Disk events creates a run loop as well. But those are managed by the system, and Apple does a bit of cleanup and setup. Like we have a interrupt and start and all those methods, but it's just a thin layer on top. I don't think it makes sense to have a run loop in the distributed thread just for this. But again, I've not really haven't really done any proof of concept, so don't know. But this kind of like from a user point of view, it makes it seems like Osquery is returning faulty data or incorrect data if it's queried via scheduled or distributed thread. So that's kind of the balance here between developing and making sure it's performant, but also making sure we don't actually present bad data, even though the data is correct if you look at it from the implementation standpoint.
My feeling is that we should either figure out how to correct it or not omit it. Is there a way we can tell if we're going to emit bad data?
If it's hitting the scheduler, or if it's running, returning data from distributed, then yeah, we know that it's not running on the main thread.
Or I don't know if the NS workspace stuff exposes something where it would tell you anything.
I don't think so. These are also very Cocoa APIs.
Because maybe we could just emit nulls.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's. I guess it sounds like the issue is that you'll just get is active, false for everything, and you won't necessarily know whether that's actually false or that's false because that's the default value it returns when.
Exactly, and there at any point there's only one is active because that's how the windowing works. So if they're all negative, then also it's like there's nothing active. It's weird.
Yeah. Is there a way to know in like the rendering function in the generate function in Osquery that it's being called from a context where it will be able to get that data or not?
I don't know. Maybe I'll try to think of it. I don't think it has the context, but maybe we can shoehorn it. Go ahead, Stefano.
I think you can just check what is the thread ID. I think it's a bit, well, we have another use case where we are checking for security, or at least be sure that it is not another thread, that the thread is the main thread. So we store the main thread ID, and then via APIs, STD thread APIs, we can retrieve the current thread ID and compare it. So if the
cool.
running thread at any point of execution is the main one or not.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Answer your other question, I'm not sure we've got a better place than just the table schemas to document stuff. I think if something is simple, like this might be, only not accurate, only accurate inside Osquery I or something, right? Something like that. It's easy to put into a parenthetical, but if something starts needing like paragraphs of explanation, then probably the schemas should just like link to something in the docs. And it feels imperfect, but I just don't know. I don't see a better answer, without redeveloping a lot of site documentation systems. Probably and other things. You asked about Wi-Fi networks.
Yeah, it's again kind of on the similar boat. There's a very divide between pre-Catalina, Catalina, Big Sur, and New for all the Wi-Fi related data that we can get, and some of the columns don't make any sense anymore, like hidden, temporarily hidden, and there are some new ones that do. So is there a way that we can deprecate columns, or
Poorly. Osquery has occasionally talked about ideas of versioning tables, and it's never gone anywhere. If the columns don't have meaning anymore, I would just omit nulls and flag them as hidden in the schema. And, possibly also just update the column description to like deprecated as of whatever the OS releases. At some future point, we should pull the columns, but I'm hesitant to, because actually, no. Changing columns is not that scary. You can write SQL that handles that. It's just hard. There's magic.
You can? Can you show us how?
You want my sneaky SQL magic tricks?
Yes.
Okay, so because of a horrific bug in MySQL, SQLite maintains bug compatibility with the MySQL quoting behavior. So if you put a column name in double quotes, you will get back the column if it exists, or the double quoted string if the column does not exist. So you can write some relatively gnarly code that basically says, select quote foo quote, and then if it's foo, you set it to null in like some secondary CTE. This is how you handle column versioning in SQLite.
Oh, that is pretty
Magic.
horrible.
It's magic. So it's actually a very handy trick, because the reality is that Osquery does change columns occasionally. And more often than dealing with deprecations, I'm dealing with, here's a new column, but I want the SQL to work on an old release. So it's all the same. But it also makes me not as scared about removing columns, especially from a broken table. So I think you could probably just remove them on something like, I don't know, the users table, right, where we expect people to have lots of handcrafted SQL around it. I'd probably say we should just return nulls and make them hidden and not make people dance through hoops. But I feel like this table's been broken for like 3 releases now, right? 3 OS releases. So just fix it. I don't know if anyone wants to advocate for going through some other column stuff. I guess the other thing to do is to track some of the deprecations, just to give people like a link to talk about them. I've started creating issues with a deprecation label on them. So maybe make an issue for column name changes on this table, and then I can just point people at it if they have questions or something. But I think it's fine to just remove any columns that don't make sense anymore.
But that's the thing. They make sense on older macOS versions. It doesn't make sense on the last 2, at least.
I would embrace the future.
Okay.
Right, because like it doesn't make sense on. So it makes sense on Mojave, but it doesn't make sense on Monterey, right? Like in a year, what it's going to be there, and I feel like if people. Is this data available by another mechanism, or is it just gone?
The BSSIDs, they're not trustworthy because people have been kind of abusing it to kind of bypass location permissions by using geolocation APIs. So Apple has been kind of clamping down on that, and that data is hard to get. And it's also unreliable. randomized and leaky, as per Apple's term.
Oh, I know. I think you should just remove the columns, because my feeling is that anyone who is depending on those columns, the thing is I don't. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't think that there are reasonable deployments that are holding Mac releases back. Right? We have a long tail of support, but like there's no one who's going to be, I have this critical need for BSSID and I'm not allowing my machines to upgrade past Mojave. It just, like, it's only valuable to keep the column if we think there's a wide Mojave deployment out there, and I suspect not, and I would rather not carry tech debt.
And similar to that is my next agenda item. We are currently at the 10.12 SDK, the minimum one. And I would ideally want to move it to 10.14, but 10.13 works. It would enable me to continue some of the work with newer APIs. Weak linking frameworks is, it would be nice to kind of get that moved. I don't see any downside. The older versions still will be supported, run, but the newer versions may not run on 10.13, newer Osquery versions.
So does this mean that if you move the SDK to 10.13, does this mean that Sierra machines would no longer be able to run things?
They'll be able to. 10.12 is Sierra or High Sierra.
High Sierra is 10.13. Sierra is
Okay.
10.
10.12 is Sierra. Okay. Yeah, they will not be able to run future Osquery versions if you move this. I mean, it might work, but expect brokenness, basically.
High Sierra was first released September 2017, so we're talking 4 years ago. Personally, I'm good with that. macOS seems to have a much tighter release wagon than like Linux does. I don't know. How do the rest of you feel? Mike, you got any feelings about macOS Sierra support?
I like the idea of deprecating that for us.
There you go.
Cool. That's good.
Maybe create a deprecation ticket again, just to have the record of it. But
this would, I don't know, help us move a little bit faster and get caught up with Apple's versions. There's another OS version coming in June, probably.
I never want to move too fast here, but it seems fine to drop Sierra.
Okay.
My recollection too is that Apple didn't have Sierra as the terminal OS for anything. High Sierra was the terminal OS for some hardware lines. So I think in theory there is no hardware that could not go to High Sierra. I'm not even sure there's any of that hardware left, but I'm not sure anything could be on Sierra but not High Sierra. Okay. I think that's everything on our agenda. Anything people want to talk about? Any exciting Osquery developments?
How much do we want to plan the next release? Should we put a milestone out there? We got 5.3 already, right?
Should have a
we
milestone
do.
already.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Milestone.
5.3. Okay.
It looks like it's just got a bunch of dumping ground in it. Could set a due date of roughly 2 months from now if you'd like. But I don't know that there are any headline features so much as just release code, go boldly forward.
I think the theme of our recent work has been performance corner cases, improvements to the watchdog, and watchdog behavior. So maybe those things would be topics if you want to attach some topics to the milestone for planning purposes. But we also have a lot of PRs that are either reviewed or just kind of waiting from the community. Like I think it's over 30 now.
I mean, I'm always in favor of just making releases. Like, I don't have to have headline features.
Yeah.
There's just always a drumbeat of small fixes, big fixes, performance fixes.
Well, mind if I put May 1st on a due date?
I did.
Oh, you did already? Okay.
Yeah. But no, I wouldn't mind.
Oh, well, you read my mind.
I'm just skimming this PR list here.
Yeah, is there anything that can be tagged with the milestone?
I mostly don't bother. I consider things tagged with a milestone to be blocking if we actually decide we care. Whereas otherwise, I think we should just try and merge everything, right? Tagging with a milestone does not indicate refusal. It's more about like what might block the milestone. I feel like I should probably dig through all the stuff that's been hiding in that milestone tag too, and just like close it all out.
Or just remove it. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
Well, there might be something that doesn't.
It's probably all from me. So.
Well, these are things that, there's actually something in here about cross compilation universal binary on Mac OS, and I thought
probably long done.
I thought we did that already. Can anybody remember why that's still open? I think Seth asked in December why it was still open, and I agree. I don't think it should be.
Just close it then.
All right, close it.
If there's a problem with our universal binary builds, we'll find out.
Okay.
Skimming through the PR list. It looks like the top bunch of these should be pretty easily mergeable. So I think we can probably get through a bunch of these.
So we have an update CMake version used by the CI. Did we ever do that?
CMake or CPP? Oh, CMake?
CMake.
It is done on the Osquery project. We still have to look into the Osquery code sign part, but I think I had to ask Alessandro, but I think we did. So there was a PR open for Osquery code sign that was updating the logic for M1, but we also discovered that the version of the Osquery packaging that the code sign repo downloads is not fixed, and so
changed.
we wanted to. I might not be updated. Let's see. But anyway,
I think I missed the question. I know that someone mentioned me.
Yeah, I was asking, do you recall that the Osquery code sign repository, there was an issue, with Linux, I think, and maybe macOS too, not downloading a fixed version of Osquery packaging, but it was always downloading master, for instance.
Yeah, true. So the problem there was that whenever you rerun the packaging script, on the Osquery code sign repo, it will not use the packaging code matching the commit you're checking out. So there is a to-do in there. Not all platforms are affected. I seem to recall that Windows was fine, I believe. Linux was affected because it was downloading the raw artifacts and just signing them without actually rerunning the packaging code. The pull request that was merged, I think, contains some to-dos in there, and a new parameter that, if left empty, will just use the matching version. If you want, you can override it, but it only works on one platform.
So yeah, together with that work, I would then also look into selecting the correct version of CMake.
Yeah, maintaining compatibility for all historic builds is feels hard. I don't know. I'm wondering, is there really value in it? I can't decide.
If we ever want to rebuild a package, maybe we just push something on master after release and we changed the files we are packaging, then unless we make this change, it will not work.
Well, maybe not. It depends what it is. So Alessandro just mentioned the CMake versions. I don't think we're likely to, right? The thing that's generally driven the CMake version is that we're currently building the CMake packaging from source because like things that we could easily do didn't work with RPM, right? So if we upgraded our CMake to then not build from source, which I think we did, the version skew that would come in between trying to package an old OS query with a newer CMake should be fine. But I mean, you're also right that if we rearrange where things are on disk, then nothing will work right. But
yeah, but even like if we change the UGS lenses and there is one more or one less, it will not work.
I feel like we probably need to just make the packaging code robust, and then honestly, I would just aim to not worry too much. Like if we need to rebuild a package and run into code problems, I would probably just try and fix it then. But I mostly, I fear creating very complex systems that are harder to work in. Like I'd rather just be like, how often do we need that? If we don't need it very often, maybe we just manually figure it out if it happens. Other questions? Other agenda items? Could all have 19 minutes back.
I just give a quick update. We discussed quite a while ago that you, Seth, with Launcher, we're just shipping the plain Osquery binaries and not the app bundle, and we were doing the same thing with Orbit. It looks like we will very soon be shipping the app bundles. So endpoint security is coming to our installers.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm currently tracking down a weird bug. So for those of you that have not been deep in the Launcher codebase, Launcher starts Osquery, then registers itself as an extension, which is then used for enrollment. I'm currently unwinding that and setting Launcher up to just have Osquery talk directly to our servers. Feeling like that transport layer is kind of just getting in the way these days and doesn't always work on Monterey, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, we decided to have Osquery talk directly to Fleet, with when we started Orbit, because it seemed like that kind of thing caused some pain in launcher.
Yeah, I'm seeing I'm seeing a really weird bug sometimes. I don't know if anyone else has seen it. And I don't even understand if it's a launcher bug or an Osquery bug or just some weird startup race condition, where sometimes I get errors out of the Go thrift library about the messages being out of order. So sometimes something just fails with a thrift error from deep in the guts.
We have a thrift verbose flag, by the way, which is very helpful.
Mm, that's
I
good to
recently
know.
discovered that flag, yeah, while looking into extension stuff.
Astounding. I assume this is an Osquery flag.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll remember that if I get a reproduction case on this. It's been a little tough because it doesn't reproduce. So yeah, awesome news, Zach. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, and the out of order thrift messages, definitely something I've seen in the past, but I don't remember having seen that recently. I wonder if you're using an older version of Thrift and or Osquery Go.
I think I'm current on Osquery Go, but I don't remember what thrift is pegged to.
I do know that like Thrift, the Go implementation of Apache Thrift definitely had some race conditions that I fixed at one point, but also in the process introduced some more of my own that someone else then later fixed. So I think that there's also reason to be skeptical of any of the Thrift Go code. So
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't get away from that one.
yeah.
No.
Occasionally, I consider is Thrift still the way that we want to be doing IPC in Osquery?
I would be down for changing it, but what's better? That's what I run into. Like, Thrift, for whatever warts it has, is at least cross-platform and cross-language, and like, I mean, we could do proto buffs, but I'm not sure that it's just gonna have different warts. Like, the proto buffs Ruby code is sometimes working, but they were like 6 months late getting into M1 release out, so it just like didn't, like, none of the Google gems would work on M1s because it all would depend on a broken proto buffs gem. So I don't know what would be better.
I'm with you. Something that becomes tempting to consider, but doesn't necessarily draw the full energy.
Yeah.
We are still searching to. Unfortunately, all these APIs are pretty heavy. So like, and partially also probably because they want to support every language. But yeah, sometimes you just need maybe the lower level tools to construct an RPC library for your own special need. Like, I think the most annoying part is writing code for serialization and deserialization manually. The network code, at least for our specific cases, I find it very simple. So you don't have that many. Being local communication, most of the cases, it's rather simple. But yeah, it's mostly having to create this RPC structure plus serialization, deserialization of all the data you pass between those functions. So yeah. And they are also annoying because they have a lot of generated code that complicates things. So
I mean, if we sort of did anything, there's some other funny things around the extensions that I feel like we're missing. And I honestly don't know if this is an issue in Osquery or just in the Osquery Go side, which is like, I don't think we can support hidden columns today. Like an extension can't register a table with hidden columns. It might just be an Osquery Go issue, actually. I have a PR for that somewhere now that I think about it. But I feel like there are these little caveats like that we could improve.
It's probably pretty easy to fix if it is a Osquery Go issue.
Yeah, I should dig that PR out again. I have it somewhere. See if it actually works. Oh, I remember. It's the it involved refactoring the entire way we declare columns in that table in that API. So
okay, maybe not an easy fix then.
It was relatively easy, but it's sort of in the what do we want that interface to look like? How many people heavily use it? Do y'all write Go tables, Zach, or is that not really where you are?
We haven't written any Go tables. We've only imported people's Go tables, or namely the Mac admins ones.
Yeah, I feel like then I'm probably the primary user of this API.
Yeah, but we will. We definitely intend to, but we're just not yet.
I'll try and dig the PRs up then, because I did write this in a couple of different ways, and you probably have opinions about Go API, so we can.
Yeah, I'm happy to look at PRs for that, and I'd love to get Charvel looking at that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I'm less worried about the code, more about just like API UX. So
yeah,
I feel like you can probably glance at a SDK UX and be like, yeah, it feels right or not, and then hand off implementation to. Okay, I'll try and spin that up in the next couple of weeks again and dig that out of my head.
Cool. Whenever's convenient for you.
Not the most urgent. Okay. I think maybe we'll call it. I'll go try and get this PR up in the next 10 minutes for the website. So, thank you all for all the work you do. And yes, have 10 minutes back and see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.